Good evening, waifus and husbandos, and welcome back to another edition of the Waifu Cast.
WaifuCast. Back to normal again.
Back to normal again. I am here so you guys can re-click that subscribe button. I understand what it's like sometimes when I'm not around.
Damn.
Tell a nigga how you really feel.
It's like that. But while you're at it, you could also go to
shit.
Facebook and search WaifuCast, or you could go to Twitter at WaifuCast, or you could go to Instagram at WaifuCast.
Or you can go to Redbubble and buy our shirts.
At WaifuCast Productions. Or you could follow the podcast only on iTunes or Google Play. Just search WaifuCast under the podcast section.
And we also have an RSS feed too.
Yeah, you could get that from SoundCloud if you'd like, or...
We've given you so many different ways to ignore us.
Yes. No excuses now.
No excuses.
Well, this week, we're going to be talking about game reviews. Reviews in general, how they're done, how they're handled, how I don't like it.
Oh, we're talking about that? I thought we were just going to review every game ever.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, there's time.
Oh, yeah.
That's true.
And there's not enough of it.
I didn't think about that.
Anyways.
Get into the what we've been doing this week?
No.
No. Okay.
We're not going to be doing that necessarily. We figured we would be doing news updates when they happen for you guys, kind of like a breaking as they happen update, like I said. Just there hasn't been any news in between when we decided that and now, so it hasn't happened yet.
I mean, there has been, kind of.
You want to tell me about it?
Yeah, we had Yamcha, TN,
Oh, okay.
and Android 21.
Oh, well,
Announced for Dragon Ball Fighters.
Yeah, Dragon Ball Fighters had a lot of news, and the beta apparently was really good.
Beta was awesome.
Luna would love to tell you about that on his own. So, game reviews are pretty awful, I feel like. I don't like the way that they're handled. I also don't like that they cultivate this culture that believes in concepts like skill shaming.
Skill shaming.
Can we laugh at that?
I always do.
So,
You know what I hate most? Culture.
Yeah, man, I don't like the fact that, like, anything, being a fan of anything, leads to
A culture.
our culture.
Ooh. Yet apparently white people don't have any culture. Well, we apparently have so many different cultures.
Yeah. I mean, what's white?
What?
Exactly.
What is skin?
What is it?
Now, recently there was this, well, I don't even know if I would really go as far as to say that it was, like, ruckus or, it wasn't even really news, but somebody got butthurt because there was a reviewer from a game publication who was playing the game Cuphead, which, if you're not aware, is a side-scrolling platformer action game that's made to look like a 30s cartoon or whatever.
Yeah, like some old school Disney shit.
Yeah, it's neat, but the person who was playing the game was awful at it. And he was apparently being criticized for being awful at it, which I think is justified. But,
Can we, elaborate on what awful is real quick? Basically, when we say he was awful at it, the motherfucker couldn't do an air dash over a simple obstacle.
he couldn't operate the basic mechanics of the game.
Not even the game of just any
Game
I
like
don't get
it. And, okay, so
it basically leads me to believe that not only was this guy not good at this particular genre,
He just doesn't play games.
but he wasn't actually good at any kind of games, period.
And we're talking about a games journalist. So this is their job. And in the real world, if you're not good at your job, you get fired.
And I said that.
I know you did. And it was a great point. But here's where I stand on it. The situation developed in such a way that this guy was awful, as we've described, and the community, air quotes, berated him and was very mean to him, blah, blah, blah. And, I mean, some of it was legitimate criticism. Some of it was obviously just trolling and mean-spiritedness. But at the end of the day, people go to these publications, these resources, to get information. Yeah. And it's like, if I want to see how the game plays, and I rely on your publication for my information, and I'm watching you play the game poorly, how am I supposed to get any kind of adequate idea on how things work when you can't execute it?
Not only just that, but there are people that actually, rely on whether or not they're going to rely on those reviews to decide whether or not they're going to buy the game.
Well, exactly, and it's like not every person has $60 to drop on every game that they find interesting at a glance.
Yeah.
So it's like, for me personally, when I open up the internet every day, 5 of my homepages are internet gaming news. So it's like, that's like something I'm deeply immersed in. And when I see stuff like that, I wonder, like, why is this allowed to go on at your gaming journalism company?
Yeah.
And it's not the first time that it's happened. Polygon is a massive company, and they had similar shit when the newest 2016 Doom came out. They had a person playing through that game, and it looked as though that person had never touched a first-person shooter in their life. And same basic thing, except I think on a larger scale. I don't know. Do you know what company the dude who was playing Cuphead worked for, Ryusuke?
I don't remember. Exactly
I don't
what
remember
publication it
either.
was.
So if you guys want to chime in on the comments and let us know, that'd be great.
I can look it up.
Yeah, if you would want to do that. Point is that Polygon is a fairly large gaming publication. They're well known. They're not well respected outside of the SJW community, but that's, neither here nor there.
Because they pander to them.
Well, they are them, is why.
Yeah, well.
I mean, that's simply it.
Yeah.
The point being that a lot of people go to them for information, and it's like everything we said before applies here. How can I trust you as a resource for gaming information when you can't even present that information in the proper context?
And like, here's the way. Like, I like how Game Informer kind of did it. I don't know if they still do it like this, because I heard they kind of were shitty nowadays too. But
they're okay.
But back when like I was a youth, they had like, when they had their like meet the staff type sections, they would have a blurb about them. It would also list their preferred genres, and usually you would see those guys review
The games that they
games of
liked.
those genres. Like, I'm not saying, and we're
The
not
publication
saying,
was GamesBeat. I'm sorry.
GamesBeat.
Yeah.
So it's not massive, but it's not small either. So, for those of you who've listened this far, this dude who played Cuphead worked for a company called GamesBeat.
yeah.
Now
So
continue.
like I was saying, like, I'm not saying in order to be a games journalist, kind of almost makes me throw up a little bit when I say that.
Yes.
I'm not saying in order to be one of those dudes, you have to be great at every game, because I know it's not that it's not possible. It's just not probable.
Well, here, I feel like I understand where you're going with this. And the way that I see it is that it's both on the company and on you as a games journalist. You as a games journalist need to know your niche. What are you going to be able to provide the best information on? And your company needs to allow you to thrive in that niche.
Right.
So if you are a great fighting game player, for instance, you should be reviewing and doing articles on the fighting game scene.
Yeah.
And
Like,
those
for example,
games.
if WaifuCast were to start doing reviews or something, I don't know, shot in the dark, you wouldn't necessarily have me be reviewing a first-person shooter.
No, but you might have me be reviewing it.
Right.
And that's the point. See, like, it's okay to not be great at everything, but you shouldn't be trying to present information about everything if you're not great at it.
It's just, I expect a certain amount of competency from someone who's supposed to be a quote-unquote, professional.
Yeah. And
Someone that's supposed to be like a voice in the, like a go-to person in the community. And it's like, I cannot consider you a go-to person when
Right.
you're not really about this shit, obviously.
And I mean, like, I even do that in situations where, like, for example, when I watch YouTube reviews, or even the guys on YouTube I like to watch. Like, a real quick example, you got, obviously Dragon Ball FighterZ coming up, and I've been watching shit on that nonstop. One of the guys I go to a lot for Dragon Ball info, his name is Geekdom 101, he's really good. I don't really care about his opinion on Dragon Ball FighterZ. I care about his opinion on everything else Dragon Ball, because he knows his shit.
Yeah, but he's not a fighting game
But he's
player.
not a fighting game player.
Right.
So I look towards guys that would, they don't need to be top players, but guys who would know what they're talking about.
I have the exact same thing. I go to give 2 shout-outs. My name is Bife, his channel, and Myelin Games. Both of them are Destiny lore channels, and I go to them exclusively for Destiny lore. If they were, I don't know if they do anything else because I haven't looked, but if they were, I wouldn't. That's not why I go to you. You know what I'm saying? And that's not your niche. For me, it's you shouldn't be presenting an opinion on something based off of no prior knowledge. You shouldn't be like, you shouldn't be a person who like is not a first person shooter fan. Like you shouldn't be assigned the review for Destiny 2.
Not at all.
Because you're not going to do the game justice if it's a good or a bad game, because you're not going to like it.
Exactly.
And I want to use this point to pivot into the next thing I want to talk about, and that's objectivity in reviews. I feel like this is something that people want to say can't exist in a review, and I think
that's false.
It's absolutely false. Objectivity. Look at any tech review, literally any one of them. Tech reviews are as objective as they get. And that can be applied to games. There is good game design, there's bad game design. There's good dialogue, there's bad dialogue. There are things that are subjective, like character design, story, things like that. And that's not to say that there's not room for subjectivity in a review, but subjectivity in those things shouldn't affect score at the end of the day. If you don't like the story, say that, but also say that that's my personal preference. Somebody might like the story, because that's you know what I mean. Like if you're not going into a full spoiler review of the story of a game that you're reviewing, leave it up to the players to make their opinion on the story. That's how it should be, anyways, in a story-focused game.
That's why I kind of like the completionist's review system, because he doesn't score it based on like numerical values or anything.
I don't think numerical values are a working system.
He's got basically like he's got a middle ground, which is play it, Then he's got like fucking donate it or whatever, get rid of it. And he's got burn it, if it's really bad.
Okay.
But then he's got finish it if he likes the game and recommends that you play through it. And then he's got complete it
if it's that great.
If he's like, you need to fucking like max out your hours on this game and unlock everything there is to unlock in it, because that's what he does for all of his reviews. He's the completionist.
Yeah, no,
so
that's
he's
really
like,
cool.
Is it worth it to complete it because I did? So I'm going to tell you if you should or not.
And that's what reviews are supposed to do. They should be telling you, does the game achieve what it set out to do? Right. Do its basic ideas work? And really at the end of the day, that in and of itself should comprise the most of the review.
Pretty
because
much.
That's all that matters, is if the game works or not. Like, individual enjoyment is always going to boil down to getting your hands on it. And a review should be answering the question, should I get my hands on it? Right. Not, how much am I going to, not that kind of stuff. And the reason I think that a numbered scoring system is so poor is that there's no standard to it.
Yeah.
A 10 for one person is not another person's 10, and you see that all over the place where, like, I don't know, like IGN gave bunch of games last year and the year before a 10, and then Persona 5 gets a 9.7.
Right.
For
and that's
reasons not even related to the game.
For a personal preference.
Yeah.
And that's just
why
kinda,
it didn't get a 10.
That's just kind of one of those things, too, because you get this backlash for games not, like, when you compare other games to that kind of scale, it's like you risk just people getting irked at it.
Well, go to Metacritic. The number 2 rated game on Metacritic, I'm pretty sure, is Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2.
Yeah, which is considered one of the best games ever.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, does that hold up to Metal Gear Solid 5 or 4 or any other 10, or Grand Theft Auto 5? Or, you know what I'm saying? Like, does that hold up to what is given a 10 nowadays?
Is Tony Hawk's Underground, does that have a better story than fucking
right,
Final Fantasy? And
like,
shit?
I mean, on a fundamental level, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 was a better game than 2.
Yeah. 3 was that hot shit.
And it's like, but 2 got all the praise because the reviewers liked it at the time.
Yeah.
And that's the problem with numbered reviews as well, is they don't hold up over time.
Meanwhile, if you do it in a similar way to the completionist rating system, 2 games that are completely different and possibly completely different quality getting the same, rating, it's like, oh yeah, finish the game, Mm-hmm. No one's going to get mad because, like, a racing game got a finish it score and so did fucking Metal Gear Solid. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
They're 2 completely different experiences, 2 completely different demographics. But meanwhile, if you see Metal Gear Solid get like a 9.5, but then like Forza gets like a 9.75, then
I'm
you'll get
upset
people
about
being
it.
like, what the what?
Well, that's where I'm
kinda-
at. I take that personally in a way because it's like I feel like it's almost an insult to my intelligence as somebody who uses these as a resource. Because
Yeah.
it's like I feel stupid for using you as a resource at that point when this is how you do things.
I kind of feel like they're like looking at two games in two different genres and comparing their scores is kind of dumb on the consumer's part, though.
Well, sure.
Yeah,
But
but
it's just kind of like people do that all the time.
yeah, but I'm saying to you, okay, let's look at it from a completely different angle, okay?
Okay.
If you're using a numbered review system,
Mm-hmm.
if a game gets a 6, it has an audience, but people will completely skip it based on that 6.
Right.
Okay.
100%. That's the power of the numbered review score.
Yeah.
And that could be a game that we love could be a 6 to the reviewer.
Shit,
And
Blaze
people-
Blue might have gotten a 6.
And
I don't
people
even
will
know.
ignore it because the reviewer gave it a low score, even though it might really appeal to them. Like Monster Hunter, the PSP versions got terrible reviews at first.
Yeah.
Because reviewers didn't like the game. And it largely went ignored in the Western side of things for a long time because of that. Had a huge impact on it. Numbered review systems have a huge impact on the sales of things, and that's my problem with games journalism today. Is that it's more of a marketing tool for companies than it is for anything else. At the bigger the games journalism company gets, the more likely they are compensated for positive coverage for things.
Yeah, and then you're getting all the,
Gamergate shit.
yeah, and paid reviews and all that
Well,
shit,
and then you've
you
got
know.
places like Kotaku
Blowing
who
five niggas.
lean into the fact that they're a blog. Kotaku leans into the fact that it's a blog so that it can get away with being unprofessional.
Yeah.
And blowing 5 niggas.
But they also want to be professional.
Yeah.
And have that clout. And I think that that's backwards because if you're going to if you're going to push that you're a blog and you're going to take stances on things and you're going to have people on staff that are going to have stances on things,
Yeah.
you don't have credibility to me.
I mean,
Let's,
I guess
uh,
to be fair, like, Kotaku doesn't have a numbered rating system.
No, they don't, but they definitely do have an agenda push because
Sure.
they're a blog.
Definitely.
And I like, for instance, one of their editors, and I'm gonna give you a shout out because I really don't like you, Heather Alexandria, trans, and
Ooh.
nothing wrong with being trans, but there's something wrong with you. SJW pushing that fucking narrative in
She
your
blow 5 niggas, though?
no,
Okay.
but
That's
I
where
mean,
the bar is.
yeah, that's the bar for
That's the
all.
bar. That's the bar.
No, Anita Sarkeesian is the bar for how awful an SJW can
She's
get.
cute, though. I will say that. I've never wanted to hate fuck somebody until Anita Sarkeesian. I was like, oh my god, why do I hate her so much?
I feel like
She's
she
so
could talk
cute.
like anybody into killing themselves just by listening to her.
She probably could, honestly.
But that's neither here nor there.
Right.
So, back to the reviews.
So I want to, before I forget, bringing back like that 6 rating, comparing that to the completionist rating system, right? 6 is middle of the road, so that would be a what? That would be a try it, you know?
Yeah.
So the message you get from those two things, like, oh, it gets a 6 rating. Man, I'm not going to fucking play that. But if it got a try it rating,
You would be more
You'd be
inclined
like-
to try it.
hey, maybe I should try it.
I mean, I guess, like, one part out here, like, a lot of people talk about is how the way the 10-point scale is used, people kind of, like, the whole spectrum isn't used. Because pretty much anything under an 8 is seen as, like, dog shit.
Yeah, exactly. This is the point that I'm making is that
And the thing is like, I
People
guess
treat
it's
it
not
like
always the
grades
case.
in school.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's you either passed or you failed.
Right.
And but like I said, it's like we're in a different niche. We're people whom are more open minded and see the flaws of the review system.
We're
But-
people who use the word whom.
But there are people out there that's as deep as their like level of thought goes into it. They see the score, they don't buy the game.
Yeah.
It is that simple.
Yeah.
And because of that immediate impact on sales and everything, I think it's important to look at the significance of that rating system and the power that it holds. And I feel like if you're using that rating system, maybe not maliciously, but ultimately to hurt the sales and audience of a game, that's bad. That's not something that should be done. I don't think that we should be in the business of shunning games. We should be in the business of directing those games towards their demographic.
Yeah.
Because there is one for everyone. And that
Exactly,
should be
yeah.
and that should be the purpose for games journalism. And it's not. There's so much agenda in games journalism, and like I was saying, and there's so much of this, like, already, like we talked earlier about culture, like I said, where it's like we have this established 10-point system or 5-point system or whatever, this numbered system that we don't use the spectrum of because we don't have to, because a 6 automatically means it's bad.
Yeah.
I want to see that grow. I want to see that evolve to something a little bit more less subjective and more objective.
In a way, it has, just not where
Not
it
through
should.
games publication,
Right.
through YouTube and through things like us.
Right. When you go to people who you know love games for their opinion on games, and you follow a lot of different people with different tastes, you really can get a better picture of this game that you are thinking about getting.
Definitely
Seriously,
true.
too. And looking at different content creators with different opinions and whatnot, you might find out something about lore or whatever about the game you're interested in that you never considered.
Yeah.
Something
true.
that was just like literally, that's happened to me so many times. Where look, I hate to keep bringing up Destiny, but like that game is so lore rich, and the people on YouTube have pieced it all together and presented it in a way that's so easily digestible. And it's like I was able to crawl so much deeper into that game because of that. And that doesn't have anything to do with games reviews, but for instance, another shout out, call this the shout out episode, Mark Brown, who makes Games Maker's Toolkit. It's a series where he looks at games where he thinks that they nailed certain design aspects and stuff, and it's like that's given me appreciation for games that I never even would have considered even looking at, like the new Doom, just the way that it changed the way that first person that you approach the first person shooter in that game. It's not because it doesn't use regenerating health, for instance, so you aren't. You're forced to be conservative with your health, but if you get low health, you're encouraged to be aggressive because getting what are called glory kills or like up close melee kills yield health. So you know what I'm saying? It like flip the script on how you approach actually playing the game, and he breaks that down for you, and you might not even think about that as playing it. You might just go through the motions because you're doing what the game tells you to do. And we're seeing so much more of that, and I feel like it should be like we've been talking about with demographic. The very first thing a game developer has to do is nail down their demographic when they're making a game. They have to pick who the game is for. And I feel like games journalism and games journalists themselves need to do the same thing.
True.
And I don't feel like, I mean, we're looking at a bigger philosophical debate about media in general.
Yeah,
because,
for sure.
because the problem is always going to be corruption of some sort.
Yeah, and most games journalists don't care about who the game's for. They just want to make it so that every game is for them.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
Definitely that.
It's and
Like,
that's,
this game has too many titties.
well,
Yeah.
and not strong enough titties.
Not strong
Yeah,
enough.
these titties aren't strong enough. I
But
heard Noel was low tier.
gee. Well, I want to use this to encourage you as the viewer. If you have a passing interest in something, don't just look at the numbered review score.
Definitely
Do some
don't.
YouTube research.
Yeah.
Look at what people are saying, because I guarantee you that if something interests you on a surface level, like highly interests you, so it interested someone else enough to say something about it.
Yeah.
And you will always be able to find somebody else that shares your tastes.
Yeah. Definitely have people that like you trust and like know where they stand on things and like what type of games they like to play, and just kind of like develop like a little network. 'Cause
Exactly.
That's really what I do. Like anytime a game comes out and I want to get it, and I know like maybe it might not be a lot of people's cup of tea, but it's like, okay, maybe this might be some shit I like. I go to YouTubers that like kind of align with me and see what they say. And if they say it's trash, then okay, yeah, it's probably trash because I know I'm somewhat similar to these people.
Right. Well, their sensibilities align with your sensibilities and such. And I feel like it's important that you step outside of your comfort zone as far as what you're used to. If you frequent IGN and Kotaku and those places, that's okay. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but open yourself up to the idea that they might not be the only source of information for your tastes.
Or if you're going to frequent those places, pay attention to who's doing the reviews.
Yes.
It says it right up in the corner. You can get a good feel for like what that person's taste is just by reading a couple of their articles and whatnot.
I mean, if you really think about it, if we only followed the influence of like those kind of games journalists, then the only Japanese game we'd have is Final Fantasy.
Yeah,
that's true.
And we might not have even gotten that because like it's just like they follow the trends and they try to force.
My growth as a gamer personally, it was completely and 100% driven by niche gaming. It was never mainstream gaming.
It was about love for the game, for the games,
and like love for exactly that, and being able to see things for more than what they might appear to be. Because, we liked RPGs that at a time when 3D beautiful graphics were the thing, I wasn't so interested in that. I was more interested in a well-built game.
Yeah.
And so, as a person who always favored handhelds, it was like I didn't care about the fidelity of the graphics so long as the game was good.
Yeah.
And even then, like we've had this podcast before, a good 2D sprite-based graphics engine or whatever you want to call it
Is better than a good 3D one every time, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, like
Art
you
style
could put that on
trumps
so many things.
power. And in the same kind of concept with games journalism, I think that being objective trumps being subjective and pushing an agenda. And like we've been saying, if you frequent these places, there's information out there. There's plenty of ways to find out if who you are following is biased or is somehow not being... They're disingenuous. That's
like,
the word
for
I'm looking
example,
for.
if the YouTube channel you're deciding to get your video game reviews from, the avatar is a Sonic OC, chances are they're not going to be a huge fan of Mario. Like I'm a good example of that. I'm not a huge Mario guy. I'm more towards the Sonic realm, and usually you'll be able to tell that had I made reviews. You know what I mean? But at the same time, that could also lend more credence. Like, for example, if there was a Mario Maker review, someone goes to my channel, they know I'm a Sonic fanboy, they see a Mario Maker review, they're like, I'll watch it because I know he's got a shit on it because he's a fucking fanboy, and then I'm sitting there jacking the game off because I like it. They'd be like, holy shit, this must be the real deal if even this fucking Sonic fanboy likes this Mario game.
Because it's honesty.
Yeah.
It's like, like I said, agenda is probably the word of the day because there is none. I like games on a purely like individual basis. I try not to have any preconceived notions about something.
Yeah.
Well, that's not true because I don't like Call of Duty on principle. I don't really like Battlefield on principle, but that's because those don't align with my tastes.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? It's not that I think that they're bad games. I think that they're bad games for me.
Yeah.
And that's important.
That's why we don't do Call of Duty reviews on this channel.
Or talk about it other than in this context.
Yeah, when we're shitting on it.
Got the mic.
That's what we do. It's why Nickelback is a meme.
And I promise you, finding what you want to hear is not difficult.
No.
It's just a search away.
It's really not.
And I feel like with that being said, we're going to go away for a while.
Is this like the shortest one we've ever done?
Second shortest one.
Damn.
This is the
Buy our
second shortest one?
shirts.
How long we got last time? Wasn't it like 30 minutes?
It was about 30 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Damn.
Buy our shirts. We love you.
we
And while we're gone, don't forget your waifu.
yeah.
Never forget your waifu.
What he said.